greatest sports debate show on the internet.
I will take my victory lap now because who was the one that was saying the Buffalo Bills window is closed? Oh yeah, that's right. It was me.
Championship rings. Starring Brandon Lewis.
Wait a minute, who's the one that didn't see Brandon Cooks clearly has the ball in his hand, goes down to the ground with one knee on the ground, and then nothing they say, it's an interception!
Honestly, I'd rather watch AHL All-Star stuff than the NBA All-Star game.
This may be one of the biggest championship rings we've ever had. Welcome to episode number 117. I'm the host of Brandon Lewis. My co-host is the host of the Sports Room Talk Show, Ungar to the Max, Josh Ungar. We are not only going to be giving you an NBA playoff preview today, which we will go round by round and declare who we think will host the Larry O'Brien Trophy in June, but we will preview WrestleMania Saturday, WrestleMania Sunday. Josh, I know me and you have both been hyped up for this one for a while.
Yeah, there's a lot of meat on this bone, I can tell you that. So stick around.
Before we get to our NBA playoff predictions, Josh, I didn't tell you this before the show because I wanted you to be surprised. I went back and I found our original NBA predictions from earlier this year. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to pull up what you're going to see here first is going to be our Eastern Conference predictions. And so you can see for the most part, we were both too high in Orlando. I obviously was way too high in Chicago. We both kind of thought Boston was going to be in that 5 or 6 range. We didn't know Tatum's injury. We both thought Indiana would hold float without Tyrese Haliburton. That was clearly wrong. And obviously, I think the biggest, difference here as well is the ascent of the Detroit Pistons. We both had them in that 4 or 5 seed range. Obviously, they turned out to be the number 1 seed.
Aren't you forgetting something? At number 6?
I said I was higher on the Bulls. You were higher on the Raptors.
And who ended up making the playoffs?
Well, the Raptors did, and they ended up being the 5 seed. And in fairness, the Bulls were in contention until about January. And then they decided, let's have 9 point guards on our team, which is why they fired everybody in the front office.
So that's another victory lap for me. Thank you.
So let's then take a look now. I'm going to present to you our Western Conference predictions. And you can see I was very high on Houston, more so than you, that you were high on them. Again, we both had the Spurs relative at a 4 or 5. My biggest miss was obviously Dallas and Golden State. With Dallas, I thought, Anthony Davis and Kyrie could come back by midseason and they could make a run. I thought Cooper Flag would be really good, which obviously he was, but it's not enough when Kyrie doesn't come back and you trade Anthony Davis to the Wizards. And then obviously you thought the Jazz, with their young talent, would be able to make some noise, and they decided, no, we'll wait and do that next year.
Yeah, I thought with Lauri Markkanen, Walter Clayton Jr., Ace Bailey, and Keontae George, I thought, okay, that's a nice core. They could sneak in as a play-in team and grab that number 8 seed. Clearly, I was dead wrong about that. I was also wrong about the LA Clippers.
I mean, you were kind of right. I mean, I didn't even have them in the playoffs. I think that they could still be an 8 seed. They obviously play in the play-in game tonight against Golden State.
Actually, that play-in game is tomorrow.
Oh, you're right. It's Phoenix tonight. My bad.
Yes, it's Phoenix against Portland. And then in the Eastern Conference, it's Miami against Charlotte. But I think the Spurs really exceeded my expectations for them. I thought they would be a solid team, but I didn't think they would be nipping at OKC's heels all season. And Stephon Castle, for me, has got to be like in the conversation for most improved player. That dude has come onto the scene and like taken the league by storm, at least to a certain degree. Him and Wemby together, oh, that's a dynamic duo.
And, I was a little bit down on OKC because I thought they'd sort of take it easy in the regular season and go full throttle in the postseason. And they still ended up being the number 1 seed with a very similar record to last year.
Yeah. And we were both basically correct about Denver. I still think they're legit title contenders because if you can get the type of performance that we've seen out of Jamal Murray, they can beat anybody, whether it's the Spurs, whether it's the Thunder. They can beat anyone.
And lastly, before we get into our predictions for the playoffs, I'm going to show you our predictions for what we had for the NBA Finals. So I had the Rockets over the Knicks. I don't remember how many games. I think I said 6 games. And you had the Denver Nuggets over the Cleveland Cavaliers in the Lewis Family Bowl. Because my brother's from Denver. I'm obviously from Cleveland. I've seen these two teams play at Ball Arena. And both of our finals matchups are still technically alive.
That is correct. I think yours will go down earlier than mine or it could go down at the same time. We'll see.
Yeah, I think it is important to note neither of us had Oklahoma City.
Yes. We'll get into that.
So with that in mind, let's transition now. I'm going to get these off the screen and let's go into our NBA playoff preview. Obviously, we got to start just quickly with the playing games tonight. You already mentioned it. We got the Hornets and the Heat, and then we have the Suns taking on the Blazers. I'm going to do it like this. So I think Charlotte is going to win tonight against Miami, but that is the 9-10 matchup. That's not the 7-8 matchup because there is a scheduling conflict with Philadelphia tonight. Say to the Orlando and Philadelphia tomorrow. I think Charlotte is going to not only beat Miami, but I think they will beat the loser of the 7-8 game, which I think will be Philly. So I have Orlando as the 7. I have Charlotte as the 8. Out west, I think Golden State, obviously Curry, Al Horford, Porzingis, they're on a minutes restriction. They don't even want to play in the playing tournaments. I have the Clippers winning that one. And I do have the Clippers beating the Blazers, who I think the Suns will beat tonight. I have the Suns as the 17 in the West taking on the Spurs. And I have Kawhi Leonard, our former point guard, Darius Garland, and the Clippers taking on OKC in round 1.
So I agree with you about the Hornets winning tonight. And I agree with you about Phoenix winning tonight. However, tomorrow, no. I think Orlando is a dysfunctional franchise. It sounds like they are going to fire Jamal Mosley. And I know Philly has their own issues. Joel Embiid isn't healthy, but they've got Paul George. They've got Tyrese Maxey. It's in Philly. I've got the Sixers winning. And that will set up a matchup between the Orlando Magic and the Charlotte Hornets. I know Orlando has Paolo Banchero, but Charlotte has been playing really well. I love Brandon Miller. Con Knipple, I think he's the rookie of the year, not Cooper Flagg. I've got the Charlotte Hornets advancing to the playoffs to take on the Detroit Pistons as the number 8 seed. And I've got the Philadelphia 76ers taking on the Boston Celtics in round 1.
So, I'll be honest with you.
I forgot to go through the West. My bad.
Go ahead.
So, for tonight, like I said, I've got Phoenix. So, I think Phoenix takes on San Antonio, which, of course, that's always a fun playoff matchup. We've seen that before. back in the Steve Nash, Tim Duncan days. And then, yeah, I don't think the Warriors really care. Like you said, Steph is going to be on a minutes restriction. So I got the Clippers taking on Portland. And even though it's in Portland and the Trailblazers have Denny Avdia, I'll take Kawhi Leonard. So Clippers, Thunder, and then it will be Suns, Spurs.
And I think just quickly, we should acknowledge, I can't believe I'm saying this, but acknowledge the Blazers real quickly because their season went up in smoke like the first day of the season. Their head coach, Chauncey Billups, got arrested as a part of a gambling scheme. Could have went completely off the rails. And so the fact that they couldn't even be a playoff team is a credit to what they've been through this season. And they got some talent, obviously, developing there. When Damian Lillard gets back next year, obviously the West is tough, but you would think that means they're going up in the standings, not down.
I also want to give credit to the Phoenix Suns because nobody expected them to be in playoff contention, let alone the play-in tournament. You know, they trade away Kevin Durant. They get back Dylan Brooks and I forget Jalen Green, I believe it was. And they've turned themselves into a very decent team. They've got Devin Booker. So maybe they could be a dangerous team if they continue to build things in a couple years.
So let's get into the first round. We both have Detroit taking on Charlotte. And the Hornets, you mentioned it, Con Knipple, he's probably going to finish second. Certainly has an argument for Rookie of the Year, but I do think it's going to go to Cooper Flag, especially with the recent push he had over the last couple of days. Typically, Rookie of the Year doesn't really mean much in terms of record. It's more of a stat award, in my opinion. It's more of a looking forward award, and I do think voters think Flag has a higher ceiling than on Knipple, whether you agree with that or not.
Which, by the way, I don't agree with that. I think, like, how your team does should be taken into consideration because, like, Cooper Flag was the number 1 overall pick. So he should have an impact on winning. And yet, Con Knipple was, I believe, the number 4 overall pick, if I'm not mistaken. And the Hornets are on the verge of making the playoffs. So
I would argue that your argument gets a little bit knocked down there when you have a number 1 pick in Victor Wembanyama, who the first year he was there in San Antonio, and now we think, by the way, he may be the best player in the world. The first year there, he won 20 games. So most rookies do not impact winning in the NBA, especially at the top of the draft. You know, even in recent, our history here in Cleveland, we had a number 1 overall pick in Kyrie Irving. Didn't play a lot in college. We won, 20, 21 games that first year. He still won Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, and I will admit, I don't love that. Like, shouldn't Rookie of the Year be at least a certain extent about what type of impact you have on your team in terms of standings?
No, because rookies almost never impact the NBA in terms of standings. You look historically at top 3 picks, most of them do not even sniff the playoffs their rookie year.
And yet, Con Knipple has guided the Hornets, or has been a huge part of why the Hornets have had this
He's
turnaround.
a part of it. I mean, I wouldn't call it a huge part. They have other young guys, LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller. I mean, Cooper Flag's out there with literally nobody. With all of Dallas's injuries, they shuffled the roster around. They thought they were going to have Kyrie Anthony Davis, and if he did, they would be winning more. Because at his age, he cannot carry a team. Nobody in the NBA history at his age has done that. Not even Michael Jordan when he was with Chicago.
No, you're right. I get what you're saying. But it's just like, what's the point? Like, Wemby's going to win Defensive Player of the Year. That's no doubt about it. We'll see who wins MVP. A lot of guys have valid arguments. But
I think the MVPs are already wrapped up. It's SBA.
I don't. I think Wemby has a strong case for it. Jaylen Brown does. But
by the way, I think SGA is going to win it going away. I don't even think it's going to be close. I think the voters have fell in love with SGA.
Or as you like to call him, the free throw man.
So, but let's get back to the Eastern Conference here. I guess my point is Charlotte's been a nice story. Nice stories don't last in the playoffs. Detroit is going to win this series. I'll give Charlotte one game at home because I think they shoot the ball well enough. I don't even think, to be honest with you, Cade Cunningham just coming back from his injury, I don't think he has to do a lot in this series. I don't think Charlotte's going to have an answer for Jalen Duren on the glass. I think he's going to dominate this series. We know how JB Bickerstaff does in the playoffs. The one thing he can do is take care of business in the first round. I would be shocked if Charlotte is competitive in a lot of these games and this thing goes to a 6 or 7. I think Detroit takes care of business in 5.
I agree with you about Detroit winning, but I got in 6. I think Charlotte will push Detroit more than you think.
So you have Philadelphia going to Boston. I have Orlando going to Boston. I have personally Boston in 5 games again. Again, I think Orlando, they're not a great shooting team, but Boston is a 3-point barrage team. And maybe one night in Orlando, they're not shooting well. Obviously, we just saw Boston beat Orlando with their backups the other night. So I don't think this will be very hard for Boston. I think this will be almost a bye, if you will, for Jason Tatum as they get ready for round 2. But I'll give Boston in 5 games.
See, I have Philly, and I like Tyrese Maxey, and BJ Edgecombe, but can I really trust Paul George come postseason time? I'm not sure, especially without Joel Embiid. I think Philly will make it interesting, but I'm actually going to take Boston in a sweep.
All right. Let's go to then the number 3 seed versus the number 6 seed. For me, this will be the best series of the Eastern Conference in the first round. I would not be surprised if Atlanta pushes this thing to a game 7. Listen, Atlanta's been one of the hottest teams coming out of the All-Star break. Jalen Johnson has been, you can make an argument, most improved player of the year, the way he's been coming on. Obviously, they have Dyson Daniels, one of the best defensive guys in the backcourt. TJ McCollum has come over to stabilize that backcourt after the trade of Trae Young. But I've been saying it all season. I feel like the Knicks are built more for the playoffs than they were the regular season. I think Mike Brown and his defense are going to shut down the Atlanta team that's not a very physical team. They're more of a jump shooting team. And I think the Knicks, they're going to have some nights where, Atlanta's just going to shoot the ball well, and I think Atlanta can push them. But I don't think the series will ever get out of the Knicks' control. But I'll have them winning it in 6 games.
So we just saw this matchup a week or so ago, and it literally came down to a millisecond in Atlanta. I don't know if you watched that game or not.
I did not see a lot of it. No, I did not.
But you know about like the end of game sequence and all that?
Yes.
So I think Atlanta can very much so keep this competitive. But where New York has the advantage is rebounding wise. Atlanta doesn't really have a true big man. New York has both Cat and Mitchell Robinson. And here's the thing. Cat is the main engine for the Knicks, not Jalen Brunson. As the Knicks will go as far as Cat takes them. I get Jalen Brunson will make the big shots in clutch time. I get it. But he's going to get so much of the defensive attention. Cat has to take advantage. He has to. Think about it. Atlanta's primary game plan is going to be to get the ball out of Jalen Brunson's hands. I get that they have OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, Tyler Kolek, who can come off the bench, and others. I understand that. But it's Cat for me. And if he parks his butt down low and isn't consistently shooting threes, that's how New York is going to win this series. But given how fast Atlanta likes to play, I think that could give the Knicks defense some problems. I got New York winning this, but it's going to a game 7.
Okay. Then our Cavaliers are the number 4 against what I would call your Toronto Raptors at number 5, who Toronto obviously needed some help from Orlando losing to Boston and Atlanta losing to Miami to get into this spot. The interesting thing, and you're more the schedule nerd than I am, these two teams have not played since November. So they have not seen them being Toronto, these new look Cavs at all. I know Toronto had success against the Cavs. I believe they went 2-1 against them in the
3-0.
regular season. 3-0. But again, that was
swept us.
But again, that was all in November. I don't even think Darius Garland played in at least one of the games, if not 2 of them.
I know we played them once on Halloween, and Lonzo Ball was our starting point guard.
Correct, yes.
In like 2 of those. But I will tell you this. I did not want to see the Toronto Raptors as our first round opponent. I really did not. This team scares me. And it's not just because they swept us in the regular season series 3-0. Again, I understand that was prior to us trading for James Harden. That was prior to us trading DeAndre Hunter and getting Keon Ellis and Dennis Schroeder. And that was prior to us trading Lonzo Ball and making all these other roster changes. I understand that. But Toronto, they have Brandon Ingram. They have Scotty Barnes, Jakob Poeltl, Grady Dick, Emmanuel Quickly. They have size. They have length. They are a tenacious defensive team. They will get their hands in the passing lane. This team scares me. I did not want to see the Raptors in the first round.
Do I need to bring up the clip of last year when you said the Miami Heat scare me in round 1, and then the Cleveland Cavaliers went on to beat them by a record playoff margin in a 4-game sweep in round 1? Because that's how scared I am of the Toronto Raptors, aka Goose Egg. I don't think any of these NBA Eastern Conference first round teams besides Atlanta are a legitimate playoff team. And I feel like, and I've said this all year, the East is down to 4 teams. The Pistons, the Celtics, the Knicks, and the Cavs, 1 through 4, the way they're seated in that order. I'll take Cleveland. Toronto's a tough place to play. I'll give the Raptors 1 game, but I think it's going to be Cavs in 5.
Most people think it's going to be Cavs in 5, from what I've heard. Like you said, Toronto's a tough place to play. They swept us. Again, that was before all the changes. I don't want this to go to a game 6 or game 7 because James Harden tends to fold like a bad poker hand if a series goes to a game 6 or a game 7. But I have the series going to at least a game 6. I got the Cavs in 6. What I will say, though, is the physicality that the Raptors are going to bring for this series, it will be good prep for us before we get set to take on the Detroit Pistons in round 2.
So we both agree it's going to be 1 for 4 and 2 for 3 in the semifinals. It will be the Cavs against the Pistons and their former head coach, J.B. Bickerstaff, and it will be Mike Brown and the Knicks against Joe Mazzulla and the Boston Celtics. This matchup for the Cavs is the matchup that I have wanted since the Pistons clearly had control of the number 1 seed. I have said I wanted to stay at the 4 because I wanted this matchup, because not only do I think this could reignite the Cavs-Pistons rivalry, but this is Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, Max Strus, Sam Merrill. This is their chance at revenge on their former head coach, J.B. Bickerstaff. And these Pistons this year remind me a lot of last year's Cavs. a very try-hard team in the regular season, a team that dominated all the way through the regular season, a team that some people, including you and I, thought could make a run to the finals, and then they got shocked by a number 4 seed in Tyrese Halliburton and the Indiana Pacers in 5 games, where they lost 2 games on their own floor in Cleveland in an absolute shocker. I think the same thing happens to the Pistons. Give me the Cavs in 5 games over the Pistons to advance the Eastern Conference Finals.
See, here's the thing. A lot of people think the Cavs are soft, and that Evan Mobley and Jared Allen aren't going to be ready for the physicality that the Pistons are going to bring, which is why in that regard, like I said, I like that the Raptors are our first round opponent because they are going to bring a taste of that physicality, that toughness that Detroit also has on their side. But I think this is going to be a physical battle. I like Detroit more than you do. The Pistons showed that they can beat us even without Cade Cunningham. I know that game went into overtime. We didn't have all our pieces, but still.
And there was also some horrendous calls in that game that all went Detroit's way.
Yes. I believe we split the regular season series with the Pistons 2-2. So I think they are very evenly matched. I think this is going to a game 7, which James Harden is allergic to. But I'm actually going to take the Cavs. James Harden gets over his game 7 demons. Donovan Mitchell finally gets to the conference finals for the first time in his career. Spoiler alert, I don't have them going to the NBA Finals.
Okay, let's get to the Knicks Celtics. And I cannot unsee what happened last year. Jason Tatum injury or not, I think the Knicks were going to win that series. And I get they have a new head coach. It's not Tom Thibodeau anymore. It's Mike Brown. But the Celtics are a jump shooting team, and they don't even have Drew Holiday anymore to guard Jalen Brunson. You know, it's been Derek White, who's been sort of their primary point guard. I don't think he can really stay in front of Jalen Brunson. I think the Knicks' ability to use the lights of again, a Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, Mitchell Robinson, Cat, as you say, getting more down low. I think they get physical with Boston. I think Boston will be more prepared for it. But again, it's almost like, to me, I think the Celtics sort of think that they're back to being the big bad Celtics and nobody can beat them now that Tatum's been back and he's been playing well and his minutes have increased. But I think history repeats itself. And I have the Knicks once again taking down Boston in 6 games the exact way they did it a year ago.
This is where we disagree. I think Boston has vengeance on their mind. I got the Celtics winning this series. Jason Tatum is going to want to go back into Madison Square Garden. He's going to want to put those demons behind him. I know he already had his return game, so the Knicks kind of lose that mental advantage of him playing his first game at MSG in the playoffs since that devastating and horrific injury. But I like the way they're playing with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White. I think Kata has been really good at center. Okay, not really good, but he's been good for them.
And they should give Vucevic back.
Yeah, and if you can get Vucevic back, he can come off the bench and shoot threes, and he doesn't have to play down low. That's going to bring Cat and Mitchell Robinson away from the basket. That's going to give, Peyton Pritchard. That's going to give Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum driving lanes, and it's going to help stretch the Knicks defense out. I think this is going to be a great series, but I got the Celtics in 7.
It's kind of funny you mentioned the Celtics. I don't even think that they know what the low block is.
Yeah, that's true.
So, all right. And then for the Eastern Conference Finals, I think once again, just like in that 2023 first round playoff series, history will repeat itself, and the Cavs will meet their physicality match with the New York Knicks. And I have the Knicks who would have home court in this series. It would be a 3-4 with the Knicks getting home court. I have them beating the Cavs in 5 games. I think Donovan Mitchell and James Harden both struggle in MSG. I think the Knicks take down the Cavs, who are just not ready to deal with a complete playoffs of physicality. Mike Brown gets revenge. He was the Cavs head coach twice. He comes back to Cleveland and he takes care of business with the Knicks, who are now primed to go to the NBA Finals for the first time since, I believe, 2000.
So I got the Boston Celtics taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers. You know how much I love this rivalry. I know, Jalen, you don't think it's a rivalry. I will continue to say it is. Whether anybody agrees with me or not, I don't care. Cavs Celtics is a rivalry. And this is where the Cavs bow out. Boston has been one of Cleveland's arch nemesis all season. You know, Jason Tatum came back in that last game and put on an absolute show. The Celtics led that game basically from wire to wire. I got the Celtics winning this series in 5.
You know what's interesting? So you have 2 game 7s in your Eastern Conference. You have Knicks Hawks in round 1, and you have Cavs Pistons in round 2. If you notice, I didn't have any series in the East going 7.
No, you didn't. Which it could end up playing out that way. I understand it. But I just think there's something about that Hawks Knicks series where it smells like it could go to a game 7. Atlanta's played New York well all season.
It could. I just think in the NBA, if you look historically, we sort of talked about this last year, where before OKC Indiana, obviously that's been 9 years since we got a game 7 in the finals. But you look historically in the NBA, we're not getting as many game 7s anymore. We're only getting 2, maybe 3 throughout the entire postseason. And I think we're going to save that. And the majority of them are mostly in the second round.
Yeah, we did get game 7 in 2024 between the Magic and the Cavaliers in the first round, where every team won on their home court in that series.
You see more common, especially in the 4 or 5. It feels more of a rarity these days.
Yeah. Do I think there's a possibility Toronto could push us to a game 7? Maybe. I would say it's unlikely. But I don't know. Like I said, Toronto really scares me, though. But you're right. I said the same thing about the Miami Heat last year. You are 100% correct. I can't deny that.
All right. Let's go to the Western Conference now. And listen, whoever gets this 8 seed for the West, you're not winning a game. Oklahoma City is going to sweep whoever makes it out. Again, I think it's going to be the Clippers, who arguably out of all 4 teams in the playing tournament is the team that OKC would want to play the least. I really was hoping to see Kawhi Leonard go back to San Antonio just for the storyline of it. But in my opinion, OKC just dispatches of this Clippers team. They'll win multiple games by 20 plus points. This will be pretty uncompetitive. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, Tyronn Lue and the LA Clippers.
I think the Clippers get 1 game in LA, but for the most part, it will not be a competitive series. I just think there's 1 game where the Clippers are going to play out of their minds at home. The Thunder will be like, yeah, whatever. We'll take care of this on our home floor. Whoop-de-frickin-do. And, okay.
Phoenix has no one to match up against Victor Wembanyama. And as good of a story as Devin Booker is, and as hot of a rivalry as you mentioned as this was in the 2000s, when really it was the Spurs, Suns, Mavericks, and maybe you could throw the Lakers in there. It's like the four mainstays in the Western Conference. But I'm sorry to Phoenix once again. I think the game that you will win tonight against Portland will be the last win you have all season long. I once again have a sweep out west here. I have San Antonio winning this series 4-0.
Oh, this one I agree with you on. Not because of Wemby, though, because of the guy I mentioned near the top of the show, Stephon Castle. I think he just dices up that Phoenix defense. Him, Dylan Harper, Devin Vassell. I don't think Wemby's going to have to do a whole lot in this series.
So now we get to what I think is arguably the two trickiest series in all of the first round to call, because we're already dealing with injuries. Listen, Minnesota Denver 2 years ago was an epic playoff series. It was the one first real disagreement we had on this show because Minnesota went up 2-0 in Denver, and you declared the series was over, and I said it was not over, and Denver came back and they won the next 3 games. Then in game 6, they lost by 50 and didn't even try. And then in game 7, they were up 20 points at halftime, and then nobody else besides Jokic could score a bucket in the second half. Naz Reid goes crazy from the three-point line. Minnesota beats Denver in Ball Arena in 7 games. I think this series could have gone 7 if I know for sure that Anthony Edwards was healthy. But I don't believe he's healthy. Reportedly, he's dealing with the same injury that Steph Curry is dealing with. Again, load management is supposed to help the NBA stars stay healthy for the playoffs, but it's actually doing the opposite. We're already dealing with injuries. We get into the playoffs from multiple of these teams, and in some cases, like Detroit and Boston, they're somewhat just getting their stars back, and even Wemby is banged up right now for San Antonio. Because of Anthony Edwards' injury, I don't think he's going to be 100%. Denver has actually played Minnesota really well this year. They went 3-1 against them in this regular season. I hate to say it because I think this could have been an epic series, but I think it's going to be Denver in 5 in relatively short work.
I'll give Minnesota 2 games just because they usually play Denver really well. Again, like you said, I don't know the health of Ant. Hopefully he's healthy because the NBA needs him. But the biggest difference is Minnesota doesn't have Cat to guard Jokic. Yes, they have Rudy Gobert, but Jokic usually has no problems with Gobert. They have Naz Reid, but you're not going to put Naz Reid into the starting lineup just to deal with Jokic. So, yeah, I have Denver winning in 5 like you do.
Josh, you're really breaking up there, bud.
Yeah, I see that. Hold on.
Sorry for the technical difficulties on the live broadcast. Josh, you may have to just remove yourself and come back in. There you go. So sorry for the technical difficulties. I will start by jumping into this Houston LA series, the 4 or 5, which, the Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves injuries have really hurt this series. It was funny because about a couple weeks ago, the Rockets were the one team that everybody wanted to play in the first round because they were dealing with the Kevin Durant burner account issues, and it seemed like their team was just a complete mess. And now, all of a sudden, the Rockets have been red hot, and the Lakers are the team dealing with injuries. Obviously, Austin Reeves is not going to play in the series at all. Luka Doncic just returned from Spain today. They are really trying to get Luka Doncic back in time for this series because I think they do feel like the Rockets the Rockets are a good matchup for them. In my opinion, I do feel like Sengun could dominate this series and could be the key to it. Let's see. Okay, Josh is not there, it looks like. Um, Again, I think the Lakers season, unfortunately, has come down to injuries. I am holding out hope that maybe Luka Doncic can come back by about game 3, game 4. Maybe they can salvage this series. Because I'm optimistic, I'll say this is the one playoff series that goes 7 games in the first round. I'll take the Lakers in 7, but I could be 100% wrong. And again, it really comes down to, in my opinion, the injury of Luka Doncic. Because if he just does not come back, Houston should win this series in probably 5 games. So that would be my other prediction for the series is Houston just rolls over the Lakers. LeBron just doesn't have enough help. And the Lakers season ends. And then there's a big offseason discussion in LA, obviously, about what you do with the pieces of LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves. Do they fit? Do they not? For Houston, you guys saw earlier in the show, I had predicted them to be the NBA champion. And my predictions kind of all went up in smoke when Fred VanVleet went down in the preseason. And I thought that Reed Shepherd could come in, fill in pretty well at point guard. Obviously, he has not done that. Ime Udoka made the NBA Finals as the head coach of the Celtics in 2022. We know he can coach. And Kevin Durant was supposed to be that perfect guy for Houston. You guys remember I was all for Houston making that trade for Durant with Ahmed Thompson. I thought would step into more of that leadership role. It did not really work out. So, Josh, I said for me, this Rockets-Lakers series really comes down to the health of Luka Doncic. I know the Lakers are trying to get him back. It is so unfortunate because the weird thing is, a couple of weeks ago, we all thought the Rockets were the team you wanted to play in round 1 because they were going for turmoil. Now the Lakers are the team you want to play in round 1. So I basically made 2 predictions. If Luka doesn't come back, I think the Rockets take care of business easily in 5 games. If they can get Luka back by about game 3, I think the Lakers could push this to 7. And I do want to see LeBron and crew at least advance past round 1. So I will say this is the one series that goes 7 games, and I'll take the Lakers in 7, but I could be totally wrong.
I don't trust the Lakers. I think JJ Redick's going to run into the same problem he had last season where he runs LeBron into the ground for 45-ish minutes. Even though they don't have Fred VanVleet, I just trust the Rockets a little more. I got the Rockets in 5. I really don't trust the Lakers.
No, that's fair. I said if Luka doesn't come back, I think the Rockets are going to win this thing in 5. And so that means out of all the teams in the first round, Houston would be the only one that doesn't have home court that advances.
That is correct, yes.
So in the second round of the West, then, again, I had it as the Lakers. I don't even really think it matters if it's Houston. Again, I don't think Oklahoma City will lose a game until the conference finals. I'll take OKC in a sweep.
See, I think Houston can make it competitive with OKC. I got OKC in 6 for this one.
Obviously, the big storyline there would be Kevin Durant returning to OKC. I guess my concern is I don't think Houston has the depth at all to score with OKC.
We've seen Houston, when they played OKC this season, they've been able to stay competitive. Houston even went into OKC and beat the Thunder. So I think Houston matches up pretty well with OKC. The Thunder's championship experience is just a little too much for Houston, but I got the Thunder in 6.
Now we get to what I personally believe may be the NBA Finals for me this year. And I've been saying it for weeks. Give me the Nuggets as the 3 seed. Give me the Spurs as the 2 seed. The team that would have home court advantage would win the series. I think this thing goes 7. And I think this will be the best playoff series we'll get. I'll take the Spurs in 7 because they have home court advantage. If Denver had home court advantage in a game 7, I would take Denver. That's how even I think these 2 teams are.
as much as I love the Spurs and I want to see a Spurs Thunder Western Conference Finals, I think this is where the playoff inexperience of the San Antonio Spurs bites them in the butt. The Nuggets core won that championship just a few years ago, and that championship experience allows the Nuggets to win this series. Like you said, in 7, I think Jokic is able to outdo Wemby. But again, I think it's the others. Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, some of the others too. Not they
Yeah,
don't.
I agree with Aaron Gordon a lot. They're a lot better defensively when Aaron Gordon's in the lineup for sure. And
Yeah,
listen,
Cam Johnson as well.
well, Cam Johnson, he's been better as of late, but for the first half of the year, he was a bust for them. And I really like that move, moving on Michael Porter for Cam Johnson. And let's see if Cam Johnson can give them some playoff minutes because they're going to need it. Because that's the one thing they didn't have against OKC last year was that third scorer. When Aaron Gordon went down, they didn't have no one else outside of Jamal Murray and Jokic to score the ball. So you have Denver against OKC again, this time in the conference finals. I have 2 versus 1 in the West. I have San Antonio against OKC.
Yes. I think it's a no-lose situation for NBA fans, whether it's Denver OKC or it's San Antonio against OKC. I think either way, we all win because either series would be fantastic.
So I have the Spurs beating OKC. I just think that the Spurs have been the team of destiny all year long. I think that I know OKC has had the better record. I think the Spurs have been the best team from top to bottom in the NBA this year. And I think the Thunder, I know they have the playoff experience, but the Spurs are 4-1 against them because they played a NBA Cup game against them as well this year. I think they just have OKC's number. And I think Wemby, this is where he shows the world you were wrong to give SGA the MVP. SGA is not the next Michael Jordan. He is not the best player in the world. I'm the best player in the world. And him and Stephon Castle and De'Aaron Fox and those guys, Dylan Harper, they go and they take down the defending champions.
What you're saying is totally valid. With this Denver OKC series, Denver was OKC's toughest opponent last season. I know the Pacers took the Thunder to a game 7, but
oh no, I fully believe that Denver wins that game. I think Denver, you're looking at the NBA champion last year. I really do.
yeah, I think Denver matches up really well with OKC, but like you were just saying, it's gonna be the others. No, outside of Jamal Murray and Jokic, because we know what we're gonna get from the two of them. It's Aaron Gordon, it's Cam Johnson, it's
Bruce Brown is back, who was a major piece of their championship team defensively that they did not have a year ago.
That is correct.
Christian Braun as well.
Yes. I think if we get Nuggets Thunder Part 2, it's gonna be, I don't know if it'll be as good as Part 1 last year, but I think it would go to a game 7. And the fact that it's in OKC, they have that championship experience. They are the defending champs. If you want to take the crown, you got to knock out the king. But SGA isn't giving up his crown that easily. I got OKC going to the finals to take on the Boston Celtics in a matchup of the last 2 NBA champions. That will be epic theater. I can't wait. Jaylen Brown against SGA. Hopefully a healthy J-Dub going against Jason Tatum. Sign me up.
Yeah, that'd be a very good series. Listen, I think my series won't be a very good series. I have the Spurs and the Knicks, who I think the NBA would love because it's like their old dynasty against New York and a guy that you can market in Wemby. It'd be a very marketable series, but it wouldn't be a very long series. I think the Spurs they could sweep the Knicks, but I'll give the Knicks one game in MSG. Again, I know the playoff experience. I get it. And they're going to have to go through wars with Denver and with OKC. But I think the more games they play, the tougher they will get. And again, I know this team is young. I know they don't have the experience. But you watch them on paper, and they arguably may not have the depth of OKC, but they have just as much star talent. And they're younger. And I would argue they're just as athletic. And I just think they are a team that nobody expected. And it's very similar to the way Greg Popovich's Spurs started off with, first it was Duncan and David Robinson. Then it was Duncan, Tony Parker, and Mano, where it was like, yeah, they're good. They may be championship material. But no one expected them, I guess, to be in championship contention every single year. And yet they ended up winning 3 out of 5 titles. So that's the way I look at San Antonio.
Yeah, and also the fact that, they kept the same core, and what did they end up winning? 5 championships, I believe it was?
Correct. 99, 03, 05, 07, and then 2014.
Don't remind me about that 07 series.
How about 2013? The Kawhi Leonard misses a free throw, the rebound, by Bosh, the kick out to Allen. The Spurs thought they had the title won. Miami fans are leaving the building. I think besides Cavs Warriors Game 7, that may be the most iconic NBA game of all time. Heat Spurs Game 6, 2013.
That was one of the best games I have ever seen. I've gone back and watched that game probably, oh God, I don't know, at least 10 times since then. It might even be more.
But what's your prediction then for OKC Boston?
Oh, OKC Boston? There's no way it's going less. It's going at least. There's no way it's going.
Is what you're trying to say?
Huh?
You're trying to say it would go at least 6.
Yes. If it ends in 5 or it ends in a sweep, I'd be shocked. Because I think these two teams match up so well. And it's the last 2 NBA champions. I know Boston doesn't have all their pieces from that championship team, but to me, it doesn't matter. They still have Jason Tatum. They still have Jaylen Brown. Joe Mazzulla is their head coach. And it would just be such good TV to watch Jaylen Brown go against SGA. It almost feels like, I don't want to say Jaylen Brown has a vendetta or has something against SGA, but it feels like when Jaylen Brown goes against SGA, he's almost like, anything you can do, I can do. Do you see that? Do you see it the same way?
No, I don't at all.
Really?
No, I don't. I think Jaylen Brown's on a mission this year against the whole NBA to show people that he's as valuable as Jason Tatum. And I think he's done that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm trying to log back in on my computer. Again, sorry about all the technical difficulties. My computer's just acting funny.
Do you have but you never said who you think was going to win and how many games.
Okay, I have the series going to a Game 7, which in this case, it would be on OKC's floor. And being in Loud City, SGA takes advantage, and the OKC Thunder go back to back.
In back-to-back Game 7s?
That's right.
Back-to-back. I'm looking up real quick.
I'm going to see if I can get back on through my computer. One sec.
I'm looking to see. Okay.